A good night of Shabbos, everyone. The Shabbos, Parshas Dvarim, the Shabbos of the 9 days, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. This Shabbos has a special name, and it's called Shabbos Chazon. The word Chazon, to see or vision, is the opening words of the Haftorah. Chazon Yeshayahu ben Amos. And many explain that that's the reason why the Shabbos is called Chazon, because we give it the name that we find in the Haftorah. And we do this a few times a year. But usually when we do this, the name of the Shabbos has something to do with the very nature and character of the Shabbos, not just the fact that it's the opening line of the Haftorah. Next week, for example, we have Shabbos Nachamu. Because at the beginning of the Haftarah, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, be comforted, my people. But the nature of the Shabbos is a nature of comfort. It's a nature of Nechama. Shabbos Shuvah, where we talk about the concept of Tshuva. It's the very nature of that Shabbos, the Shabbos in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Why is this Shabbos called Chazon? How does that describe the very nature of this Shabbos, not merely just the opening words of the Haftorah? It says in the Shiva Shalom that the word Chazon and the idea that it teaches is really fundamental to this Shabbos and really fundamental to our enduring Golus, our enduring exile. The Navi Yeshayahu says some very dramatic things in this Haftorah. Every pasuk in this Haftorah really screams a lesson. We have the amazing line when he turns to the people and he says, Yod Ashor Koneu, and the ox knows its master, V'chamor Evus Balov, and every donkey knows where its feeding trough is, but Yisrael lo Yoda. But the Jewish people seem not to know this. Ami lo isbanon, because my people are not paying attention. Then the Navi turns to the people and says, Lama li rov zivchechem. Why do I need your sacrifices? Your empty sacrifices, your rituals. Your rituals aren't important to me. It's the feeling that comes behind them. It's the message, it's the lesson, it's the intent, it's the kavanah. And then the Navi says, Eicha hoisa lezona. Look at how the city has become like a zona, has become like a prostitute. The second of a trilogy of Eichas. The first Eicha being in the Torah reading on Shabbos morning, the second being in the Haftorah, and then the third in Lamentations, in Eicha. Now, rabbis tell us that 3 prophesied with the word Eicha. Moshe, when he saw the Jews in their glory. Yeshayahu, when he saw them collapsing. And Yirmiyahu, when he saw them collapsed and gone. But all of those psukim and all of that power is in a context. And I think the context of this Haftorah is from really the second pasuk. Shimu shamayim vazino aretz. Listen, heavens, and pay attention, earth. Ki Hashem mediber, because God is speaking. The whole world is calling out. Bonim gidalti v'roimamti, says God. That I have raised children, I have raised them, I have elevated them. Vehem pashubi. And they rebelled against me. But we rebelled. Why is God still calling us children? Bonim gedalti v'ramamti. Said Ben Sarah Myra, I raised rebellious children. I raised no goodniks. I blew it. Why are you still calling me Bonim? Because we might have stopped behaving like children, but a Kadosh Baruch Hu never stops being our dad. Bonim atem l'Hashem alikechem is a designation that was given to us forever. We are always God's children. No matter what happens, no matter how bitter the gullus, you're always going to be his children. But when do we feel this the strongest? When in our lives can we tap into this energy of banim? Of that even though we're living in this terrible gullus, and even though it's been thousands of years that we've been separated, but that we can feel this sense of that we are still God's children. On Shabbos Kodesh, on the Holy Shabbos. Why on Shabbos more than any other mitzvah, more than any other commandment? Why can't we retreat into any commandment and feel this sense of Banim Atem Lashalom Lekechem? Why is it Davka on Shabbos? Because most of the mitzvahs that were given to us as a result of Har Sinai, as a result of our saying Nasiv and Nishma, we will do and we will listen. Shabbos wasn't. Shabbos was given in Morah. Shabbos was given before we got to Mount Sinai. Shabbos wasn't based on any achievement of the Jewish people. It was a result of a deep love that God had and wanted to share that love that was in his treasure house, wanted to share the most beautiful treasure of Shabbos and to give that to the children that he loved. We didn't earn Shabbos. It was given to us as a loving gift. And it's on Shabbos that we can feel that love of God. On Shabbos, we experience that Chazon. We experience that vision of being God's wonderful, loved children. This Shabbos, we feel the Chazon. We feel that vision of seeing ourselves and recognizing Banim Atem Lashem Alekechem, that we are God's children. On this Shabbos, we have the ability to see and to feel Hashem as our parent in the most profound way. Because it's in the middle of pain and sorrow. We're meatless, musicless, weddingless, wineless, steeped in gloom and darkness. And for many of us, in a very personal way, in avelus, in mourning, not just the families of those that passed away this week, but those that are mourning the loss of a dear friend, and those that are mourning the loss of a dear teacher. And then wham, in the middle of all of that comes Shabbos. Because we know the darker the room, the more powerful is a little bit of light. We're at our lowest point, and we're open to see and to feel God's love. And that's why it's called Shabbos Chazon. Because on this Shabbos, we can really appreciate the vision where though God is crying and he feels the pain of our actions and choices, but he looks at us with such longing and he calls us Banim. You're my beloved children. And on this Shabbos, we have the ability to be able to open our eyes and to feel that sense that we are God's children. And when we feel that sense of God's children, then we have a chance to begin to climb back to him. Then we have a chance to begin to come home. You know, this Shabbos is a good idea. Spend a little time talking about Shabbos. Talking about this concept that as much as the Jews have kept Shabbos, Shabbos has kept the Jews. What does Shabbos do for us? How do we feel this sense of being God's children on Shabbos. What do we do on Shabbos to be able to feel the power of God's love and of God being our parent? And maybe spend a little time thinking and talking about what does being a child to God mean. We sometimes don't feel that God is a particularly good parent. But do we ever stop and ask ourselves, am I a good child? Am I a good son? Am I a good daughter? What makes a good son or a good daughter? What would make me more lovable? What would make me be able to feel God's love in a more profound kind of way? That's this Shabbos. In the darkness, we have an ability to open our eyes and see the light, and to feel God's love and desire for us as a parent to a child. And then we can call out to him as a child longing for the love of his parent. And when we make that move, that is the first step towards seeing the repair, the rebuilding, and the Geula Shlema b'mheira v'yameinu. Amen. Everybody should have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, meaningful Shabbos. Everyone should have an ability to open their eyes and to see this Chazon, to be able to see the vision and walk away from this Shabbos pumped that we feel this sense of Bana Matem L'Hashem Elokeichem, and that puts the Avelus of the next couple of days and the Avelus of Tisha B'Av in a very, very different place. Have a beautiful Shabbos. Quick commercial. For those of you that haven't as yet clicked on the button which allows you to join my YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, so then that would be appreciated. If you know people that would like to be added to the WhatsApp group, be happy to add them. Just send me their WhatsApp number, and we will add them onto the group. And it is my pleasure to be able to present these Divrei Torah to you twice a week. In Mitzvah Hashem, we'll send out some Divrei Torah for Shabbos. This coming week, we'll send out a few things for Tisha B'Av. We should have a beautiful, meaningful week, a meaningful fast, and it should be the last fast that we have to keep, and that it should soon be the Yontif of Tisha B'Av.